A Wall Street Journal op-ed. Our next guest says that while Europe believed energy independence with Russia would steady Russia's aggressiveness, in reality, it funded more Russian weapons. We're now seeing those arms at work in the Ukraine invasion. Joining us right now is Niall Ferguson, Hoover Institution Senior Fellow and founder of Greenmantle. His new op-ed, co-authored with Citadel's Ken Griffin, is titled How to Beat Putin with Natural Gas. It's great to see you, Neil. How do you beat Putin with natural gas at this point?
Well, you can't do it overnight, but what we're seeing here is the consequence of Europe's allowing itself to become so reliant on Russian natural gas and oil to the extent that, firstly, Vladimir Putin has been able to build up and modernize Russia's military, reestablish Russia as a great power capable of winning multiple wars, as my good friend and colleague Chris Miller points out in today's New York Times. But also, of course, Europe has got to the point that it can't easily impose the kind of sanctions that would really hurt Russia without, of course, hurting itself. The Russians have known this for years. I can remember Putin more or less pointing it out explicitly long ago at the Munich Security Conference in 2007. This was something the Europeans walked into knowingly. The Germans for decades believed that if they could integrate Russia into the European economy, somehow Russia would behave better, would westernize itself. It was the same mistake we made, of course, with China on a global scale. The only real alternative for Europe is to diversify away from Russia as a source of energy. Unfortunately, the European Commission is convinced that it can do this with purely renewables, but that's not realistic. It's especially not realistic if the Germans refuse to revisit nuclear power. So what's left? Well, the answer is liquefied natural gas, and that is something that the United States, which provides Europe's underlying security guarantee, has in abundance if it's prepared to develop those resources and then, of course, export them.
Neil, there have been calls, as you know, for this moment, effectively, to be a call for more green energy, for nuclear, for more wind, more solar, all of it. You think that's just not realistic?
Well, I think the Europeans are gradually realizing this, not least because of the energy price spikes we've seen recently. The reality is that if you bet entirely on wind and solar, you're at the mercy of very variable sources of energy. If you rule out nuclear power, which the Germans did years ago after Fukushima, then you're basically relying on the French to provide the nuclear power. But the critical point is that if you allow natural gas to be developed and developed in a responsible, clean way, that actually provides a reliable source, non-fluctuating source that allows your overall grid to be stable. And I think it's gradually dawning on the European Commission that they can't go exclusively on wind and solar. They're gradually going to redefine green so that it includes nuclear and natural gas. But natural gas from Russia just makes you effectively the captive of Vladimir Putin. It needs to be natural gas from other, more reliable sources. And the United States is the best answer of all, because the United States has natural gas in abundance if, of course, the US government allows the energy industry to develop those resources. They're much, much cleaner, of course, than the Russians. The Russian natural gas industry is extraordinarily dirty, produces a great deal of methane. So even from a green point of view, it's preferable to get your natural gas from the clean United States rather than dirty and dangerous Russia.